because Antonio Conte clearly is not going to be there come the end of the season, whatever happens to Tottenham. They limped out of the Champions League really poorly, didn't they? And I think everything they're doing at the minute seems limp and poorly done. How are they in fourth? And what's the outlook for Spurs, do you think, Myles? Big conversation, that.
Okay, yeah, that is a big conversation. And I think it's worth starting with the human side of it. I've seen this mentioned in a few places, but I do think it's worth talking about. It's not worked for Conte at Spurs. Absolutely not. It's not the right fit. He shouldn't be Spurs manager much longer. I don't think he will be. He definitely won't be there next season. That's very clear. But let's not make that Antonio Conte is a bad manager now. He absolutely is not. He's a phenomenal manager. It's not the right club for him. It's not been the right fit, and it's not been the right time. Let's not forget this is a man who's lost 3 of his closest friends within the last year. Obviously, the Spurs training coach that passed away, really, really horrible to see that. Vialli that we talked about in the podcast, and Mihailovic, it's all within a year, along with having major surgery as well. Like, it's a difficult circumstance for anyone to do their job in. So I don't want to come down too hard on Conte. My name's not Richarlison. That's his job, apparently. It's a joke, though, the way that they are operating at the moment.
Yeah,
it's bizarre that they are striving so hard to finish 4th every season to then not even put effort into a Champions League campaign. That Milan game was woeful.
Yeah,
absolutely woeful. A waste of anyone's time. The fact that obviously you are hamstrung when you have someone like Romero making rash, stupid decisions, which he seems to do on a regular basis. I think Christian Romero has potential to be an absolutely world-class centre-back. He's won a World Cup, yet I still watch him and think, I couldn't have him anywhere near my team. He's a liability. And then when you are struggling because of his actions and you then take off an attacking player and bring on another centre-back when you have to score, that shows to me that Spurs have got no ambition. We mock Spurs for not winning a trophy for however long. But what's the point in them even being in the competition if they're not going to go for it? The comments after the Milan game, when Richarlison comes out and talks about how crap his season's been, and specifically names what Conte has done to him, said, I was told I was going to start, I've not been started, I don't know why Conte's done this. Conte then comes out and goes, no, he wasn't talking about me. His season has been crap, but that's because he's crap. He scored at the weekend and cooked his ear to the bench. His own bench. And then it was disallowed, which is hilarious and the most Richarlison thing ever. But that, to me, tells me there's no harmony in that squad right now.
No.
They're not playing for Conte at all. And his comments after the Milan game suggests he's waiting for a route out, really.
Yeah, it's disrespectful from Richarlison to the extreme, isn't it? Because Conte, I think, deserves some respect on his name for the career he's had.
Absolutely.
And you're right, the mismatch between the way Spurs are at the moment and the kind of coach that Conte is, it's such a shame because he's wasted a whole season and a half where he could have been elsewhere achieving things. And there's not many elite coaches around at the moment, is there? There's probably Thomas Tuchel who's available. That's kind of it, really. So he could have waited and bided his time, but Tottenham gave him a chance, probably made him promises that they've not kept. And the fact that they're lining up with Fraser Forster in goal, Eric Dyer, Clement Longley, Ben Davies, their quality has diminished so much from when they're at their peak. And I think he must recognise that now and think, this is going to be a big rebuilding job that's going to take a lot of money, and it will. And I don't think Spurs have got it.
He's not blameless, I will say. Let's not forget, at the end of the summer transfer window, me, you and Dave, I think all said, if anyone's going to challenge City and Liverpool this season, it might be Spurs, because they'd had such a successful summer, it looked like. But what it shows now it just screams of a lack of strategy, because clearly Richarlison wasn't necessarily a Conte signing, because he's not playing him, ever. Despite Son's terrible form, he never plays Richarlison. He obviously didn't want Jed Spence. Jed Spence has gone out again. Yeah. They've spent a load of money on another attacking fullback, which is a very Conte thing. So he's not blameless. He could have done more. I do think that. And you see the quality in this Spurs side. At the weekend, for example, Harry Kane scores 2 great goals again. Son scores, which is something we've not seen enough of this season. There's still quality in that squad, but it's the wrong fit. And for me, I don't get why Conte is still there after that Milan game. Because your season's over. Spurs have got nothing to play for now. You can talk about they're trying to challenge for the top 4 all you like, but what's the point? Because if they get into the Champions League next season, is there anything to suggest that they're going to get further than the round of 16?
Yeah.
Absolutely not. What Spurs could have done is kind of what Chelsea have ended up doing inadvertently at bringing in a manager and giving him some time to figure the squad out. Now, it's weird for Chelsea to do that so early in the season and use the middle of the season to let Potter experiment and find his best 11. It looks like he might have got that now, and now he can kick on. Spurs have got a 12-game window or 11-game window now where they could get in a project manager, let him take the rest of the season. If they get fourth, great. They probably won't slip out of Europe altogether. They'll probably end up in the Europa League.
Yeah.
And then that manager has got some time to gel this squad, work out what he needs in the summer, build something together. Conte's not going to be there next year. Why are we keeping him?
When you say you were surprised to see Conte still there after the Milan result, do you mean from Conte's point of view or from Spurs' point of view? Do you think he should have walked?
Either.
Really?
Absolutely either. His contract is up in the summer, so I can't imagine sacking him would be too high a payout because he's not got long left on his contract anyway. For him, what's he playing for now? Pride, maybe? But look how stressful this year's been for him. Go and take the time out.
100%.
Take the time out now and go, do you know what? My season's done with Spurs. Sadly, I couldn't get them to where I wanted to. The circumstances weren't right. I need to take the time for myself right now. And then hopefully in September or August, a job in Italy comes up that's more suitable for him. He can be back with his family and go for it again.
Yeah.
Right now is not the time for Conte to be at Spurs for either party. And I wonder if they're going to do the most Spurs thing possible of waiting too long, seeing candidates go elsewhere and lose out on an option. Don't get Pochettino back. It never is as nice the second time round. That doesn't seem like a good idea to me. Don't get one of these big name managers that's coming in because you've got a big fancy stadium. Get someone where the conversation is about Spurs instead of about the manager. With Spurs now, it's Antonio Conte's Tottenham. It was Jose Mourinho's Tottenham.
Yeah.
You want to be Tottenham, the project. You want to look at Brighton and go, look, Potter would have been the perfect manager for Spurs.
Oh, definitely.
They've waited too long.
Yeah, I agree.
That's what they need now. That's exactly what Spurs should do. Let Conte go now. Use the rest of the season to give someone else some time to run at it, see what happens, and then go again next season because this season's been absolutely diabolical. They played terrible football. They've somehow got into fourth place, but they're not going to stay there if they continue the way they are. And that squad needs so much rebuilding.
Yeah, it does.
It's ridiculous.
I think a season in the Champions League again, if they did qualify once more, they're just not good enough. And I think they need to accept their level now in the Premier League and in the European football pyramid, if you like, because they're not looking at elite managers now to replace Conte. They're looking at an up-and-coming European manager, the likes of De Zerbi or the likes of Potter, and that kind of, I don't know, young, kind of expansive thinking manager who finds potential in players that not many other managers would.
The other thing is as well, you've got to sort out this Harry Kane situation because I think in the summer he'll have a year left on his deal. So if Spurs are ever going to let him go, it's going to have to be now. And if you don't have a manager set up at the end of this season, it's a lot easier for him to go, well, I don't even know what direction Spurs are going in, so I'll leave. Whereas if you get a manager in now who forms some sort of relationship and bond with Kane, you're more likely to hold on to him. The only caveat I would say is I think there is a good candidate within the Premier League right now that they could go and get. And I think they're more likely to get them at the end of the season than now. I think there's two, Marco Silva and Thomas Frank. I think both of those could do really well at Spurs. And I wonder if they're waiting and saying, finish the season out with them, we'll finish the season out with Conte, and then we'll go for Frank in the summer, or we'll go for Silva. I don't think De Zerbi will go. I think it's too early. Yeah,
I think all those managers you mentioned, though, it depends how they finish their season, because if they finish on a high, then it's going to feel like a sideways step almost to a Spurs project that's massive, let's face it.
Oh, you're going to have more. You're going to have European football guaranteed to some degree, and you're going to have way more funding at Spurs than either of those clubs. Even if Levy is not the smartest owner and he doesn't fund it at the right times, Spurs spent money in the summer and they brought Pedro Porro in January. Like, they do spend money. You might have to sell Harry Kane to get some funds, but it is a bigger platform for either of those managers than Fulham or Brentford really are. Let's be honest. Well, I think they're the two that I would look at if I was Spurs. Yeah, fair comment. I think culturally that's a good fit, and I think that's what they've not had in the last few appointments, especially when you look at Nuno Espirito Santo. It's such an odd fit for them when he was appointed. Mourinho, again, it's just too pragmatic for Spurs. I don't know. Too big a character, like you said. They need a sort of more humble, up-and-coming manager to build their reputation and rebuild Tottenham's at the same time. It's a difficult balance to find, isn't it?